Welcome to Energy is Currency, the Millennial Development Podcast devoted to helping you mind your business personally and professionally. My name is Alexis Williams, and I am your marketing consultant, idea generator, and mini modern philosopher, the entrepreneur that checks all the boxes, whatever that may mean. Subscribe to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and iHeartRadio to listen to every gem in every episode. Season 1 is available on all streaming platforms. Welcome to Energy is Currency. I am the host, Alexis Williams, and I am so thrilled to be with one of I've decided she's my mentor. Maybe she doesn't know she's my mentor, but she's been mentoring me. But this is, I'm having a great interview today with Dr. Janelle Davison. How are you, Dr. Janelle?
I am doing awesome, and thank you for having me on your podcast today.
How are you? What does a typical Tuesday look like for Dr. Janelle?
Woo, Tuesday, girl. Tuesday could be any Tuesday. Every Tuesday look different. So just a little bit of background. I'm an optometrist. I've been practicing for 18 years. 14 of that. So this is my 14th year in private practice. And then along the way, I've had 2 kids, married, started a couple other business ventures. And so Tuesdays can be a fun day, right? And so typically I start off dropping somebody off at camp or something. It's the summertime, so we're dropping off at camp. We get into the office. Usually I have a pretty full schedule, and I do an array of different types of eye exams. So I'm doing glasses, contact lenses, but I also have patients that I am testing and evaluating for glaucoma. So I have glaucoma evaluations. I have medical visits. So I have patients here that have complications in red eyes. I had a patient earlier that had a complication from lash extensions. And so it can be an array of things that we do throughout the day. Sometimes during the day, I get visitors from pharmaceutical sales reps, which sometimes they be driving me because I tell them they need to make an appointment. They just want to show up, right? And so just want to drop by, bring their manager and everybody to meet me. And so I've had a couple sales reps come by today, and sometimes they bring their manager who's riding along with them. And so they like to come by to some of their, higher performing accounts, and so that the manager can meet those providers. And it's an array of things. But one thing I do is I always make sure, even when I started from square one with my business, is that I have an hour where I have a lunch where there's nothing, right? I shut down, I close for an entire hour. And so if your lunch is my lunch, then it's tight on you. You need to come at 1 o'clock or you come at 11:30. Because I'm going to get my lunch, right? I'm not going to
You do have options, just not this one.
Not this one, okay? And I've been consistent with that since I first opened. Okay. My employees, they appreciate that. It's time for you to woosah, run an errand, so that's one thing I'm going to do every day. I got lunch from 12 to 1:15 to do what I want to do in that hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, I love that. I met, and I like to call her Dr. Poppin because she is literally, I've been doing her hair for maybe 12 years almost.
12 years? My youngest is 12.
Coming up on 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. So throughout this 12 years, she has not missed a blessing yet. I don't know if God gave her extra arms and I just don't see them. I don't know if it's the flexible reach, like on The Incredibles. I don't know what, this ain't my business to know. But sis has never missed a blessing. You know what I'm saying? So from what I met her, she was she was knee deep in her business. And since then, what are some of the other things that you have expanded into with your optometry business?
Yeah, so I'll try to take it in sequential order. But I will say this is important too. Like, you always joke, miss a blessing. But girl, behind the scenes, sometimes the blessings be 4 years down the road, right? So just as you as a business owner, blessings come, but a lot of times it's after a harvest. And so a lot of times blessings may all be at one time, but you were sowing a whole bunch of seeds 5 years ago, just throwing them out. Let me go see. All of a sudden everybody start blooming. Now you're like, I ain't got enough to pick it all up. And so I think that's the season I'm in now. This is a lot. You outside looking like, man, she killing it. But it's like, it's times where it was just like, oh, Lordy, are you up there? Where it's not as...
But is what the blessings are in every single step. The blessing is in the recipe. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I've noticed of you is that you stuck to your goals. Okay? And you stuck to your values and your objectives, especially with as fast paced and as scammy as Atlanta can be. You can tell when people are really doing the work, when they're
Yeah.
really sowing the seeds, doing the authentic work to sow seeds. And that is a task within itself. So I've always made sure that if you ain't hear this from nobody else today, you own it. You are on it, bro. This is stupendous.
That's a good point to make. You know, like it's hard to find authenticity in some cities, Atlanta being one. And that's a pro and a con. You know, like I
Yeah.
think you appreciate that about me, but a lot of people
Mhm.
expect certain things, especially if you're like a provider. If you own your own business, they expect all that flossing and flexing and all that extra and uncalled forness. I don't do any of that, right? So I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna do me how I do me, right?
I
And
mean,
so
but
I
that's
don't
how
fit the
they.
mold.
But you
I
know
don't fit
what?
the
You fit the
ATL
tried and
mold.
true. But there
Yeah,
are lots of
yeah,
modes to fit, and I think there is a specific audience for the people who like the glitz and glam. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
they have their service providers that show up and everything is covered in diamonds, and then you drink out of a diamond crusted cup, and you know what I mean. You brush your teeth with diamond toothpaste. You know what I mean? There are people that have that kind of lifestyle and aesthetic, and if it lasts, it lasts. But you got to be able
yes,
to sustain that, you know. But authenticity sustains itself because it's like, hey, I'm gonna make sure I'm doing it right.
yeah,
Authenticity slows down long enough to say, hey, I don't need to compete. I need to do it well, and I need to
yeah,
complete the task that I set ahead
yeah.
of me.
That's
So
good. That's
I've always applauded you for that. So okay, what inspired you? What inspired you to start your business, and then how did you flip that into something?
And so, I mean, that's a good question. I always wanted to be a healthcare provider, and so even since I was a kid, I was young, I just wanted to go into healthcare. So I always wanted to be a doctor. I used to want to be a pediatrician. That kind of changed a little bit in college. And then
Mm-hmm.
once I got into college and I found out about optometry, I wore glasses and contacts and had LASIK, so I went to get my eyes checked every year. But it was my
Mm-hmm.
optometrist that actually recommended it as a career choice. And I was like, oh, maybe I should think about it. And so one thing I did like about it is one of the fields you can have entrepreneurship. You can teach. There's a lot you can do with your degree, and pretty much a lot of degrees you can do the same. And so once I got into optometry school, and I went to school in Pennsylvania, I decided, I wanted to start my own practice. And I had a kind of timeline. I was going to practice for so many years. And then 5 years out, I was going to open my own practice. I opened it sooner, one, because my first job I actually got laid off of. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, well, God, I guess I'm opening it a little bit earlier. And so I guess so. And so that kind of forced me to kind of think about the entrepreneurship aspect of it a little bit faster. And so the way I
Mm-hmm.
kind of segued into that, I was a relief doctor in the Atlanta area. So for like 2 years, once I got laid off, I contracted myself out to other doctors to relieve them so they can have days off. If you're a solo practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to take a day off and lose revenue, right? And so I was booked and busy driving as far as Fayetteville, Jonesboro, LSJ, all over Atlanta for like 2 years, making good money,
Okay.
working my schedule. And then I had my son. And so when I was on maternity leave, that's when I kind of did my business plan and I started my brick and mortar Brilliant Eyes because I contracted myself out under Brilliant Eyes. And so my LLC has been around almost 20 years, but a brick and mortar
Okay.
14. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
so I started the practice, and so I started it what we call in healthcare code, meaning I didn't have a record, I didn't have any records to bring anywhere, so I had to like build my patient base up from ground zero. My initial building was at Washington Mutual, back in the day, remember WAMU? And so I think they had just closed down those banks. Yeah, so it was a bank back in the day, Washington Mutual. I think they turned
Mm-hmm.
it to Chase Bank. And
Okay.
so it was a suite that I bought. It was a bank. And so I, got business loan, um, outfitted the location and started the suite, my practice there. And we grew over time, but we grew. And so pretty much got a good foothold in the Smyrna area. And one thing was positive is that it wasn't a lot of eye care providers that looked like me, that was female of color, that owned a private office. So to give patients from diverse backgrounds a private practice experience with somebody that looked like them. So I think that's what really propelled our practice. So we service everybody. So we have patients drive from all over because there's not a lot of providers who own our practice that are women, number one, and then of color.
Right.
And so from there, I just kept building. Every time I was seeing need, I used to do a lot with the Cobb County Schools. So I had interns. So I used to be right by McEachern High School in Cobb County. And one of the teachers, they have what's called a work-based learning program. Teacher came into my office because she was looking for, businesses that would take high school students. And believe it or not, a lot of businesses like, I don't know high school student working here. They don't, I guess, trust high school students. But at the time, I was like, "Ooh, new practice is free labor." Grade, and I to do. I was like, "It works out. It's perfect, right? They need a grade, and she needs sites." And so I was like, "I could train high school students to scan, and some of them are going to be more capable than others." But it worked out where it was a great relationship where I had little gaps that needed to be filled. That my full-time staff, it was hard for them to figure out how to do it. That high school students could do easily, and so the practice it just grew. And so every year we got students. I think at this time now I've had like 40 different students come through my office. And then I wanted to be able to expand that offering. So that's why I started my nonprofit, because it was only through that one school. And so now any student can come through my nonprofit. And then just from that, I've opened up relationships with other schools. So I have high school students here all the time. And you'd be surprised, what 16, 17, borderline 18-year-olds can do, especially they like to be in a professional setting, and they're like, they get to put scrubs on. And so they come in every day, and we give them a little task and assignments. And some of them are super all-stars, and some of them, a little more shy. They like to work behind the scenes doing administrative stuff, but it works perfect for our office because they need the grade, and we need that extra help. And then my nonprofit, we actually get scholarships at the end. So the intern this year, she'll actually get $1,000 at the end of the summer. And so her going to be a senior, she can use that for application fees. They use that money for
whatever.
So she gets more $500 to $1,000, depending on as far as donations and things like that, how much we're able to raise. So that's Score Inc. If anybody want to contribute, we have a different version as well. My sister's a dentist, so we do the dental aspect of it in Charlotte, and she has an intern this year as well. And so anytime I see a gap, I just try to fill it, and so that's one. And then I started a software.
Tell me about the software, please.
Yeah. And so there's a software that is for optometry practices, basically any practice that sells glasses and contact lenses. A big gap in the eye care space is calculation tools. And so we didn't have a uniform way to calculate charges that wasn't by hand or old school calculator. And it's a lot of math, and then there's a lot of different benefits. So your insurance may say, take this amount off. Somebody else says something different. So it's a lot of math. So there's a lot of room for error. And so I wanted to reduce that margin of error where you either overcharging or undercharging patients, and then just kind of make the experience more modern. Right? You go after the glasses and you just find Gucci's and they pulling out pencil and paper and trying to calculate your charges. That looks better borderline ghetto, right? So that's the whole eye care space. And it's like, this is weird. Why are we not advancing? Yeah. And so
you got a point.
And you watching like when she put that number in right, you clearing out the calculator, putting it back in, and carrying the one. And I'm like, so we was doing math tests when we hiring people because it was like, you need to know how to do math, you know how to keep the sides, opposite. It was stuff that simple math that everybody doesn't know, but can calculate charges for a patient.
See, and you wouldn't have been able to hire me. No, because once that 1 and that 7 do that little wiggle dance in my eyes, and they start doing this, and I just be like, forget it, I'm going home. I'm gonna go ahead and go home because I charged her $1 and I was supposed to charge her $100. So I'm gonna head on.
99 cents, and it's supposed to be $300, or it was supposed to be 99 cents. And you charge her $300. I mean, it's like it's either we was overcharging patients or calling back like, yeah, we're gonna refund you $200, or we need to collect $500 at pickup. But if they said it was $50, yes, it's actually $55.
That's what they said, but that's not what they meant.
That's what they meant. It was got wrong. Okay?
But
so
I love that. I love how you solve problems though. Because one of my next questions was going to be, what challenges did you face in your early stages? But you literally are such a pro at this that you already knocked that out for me, in the sense that you reach down to the next community, to the next generation. Because right now in the news, they're complaining that the Gen Z kids are taking their parents to job interviews, and it's
Yeah.
like, but in their defense, job interviews are scary. So I don't
Yeah,
I
they
don't
are.
blame you. Listen, them people are mean,
Mama
they're
just sit
scary, they're
right out
writing
there.
they're writing notes about you. Listen, mama, go in there and tell
Yeah,
them
they're
I'm a
very
good person.
intimidating. So yeah, so
Advocate for
like
me.
opportunities like this definitely help. Like I said, in defense, it's like
Hmm.
we were kind of forced into it, but like you said, those type of things are scary. And so like being able to come in an environment like this at 16 or 17, everybody grown, right? You gotta learn how to talk to grown people. And I'm like, go in the room and talk to this patient, do this, do that. So it's like, ooh, and it does give them
And
a
there's
boost of
no place for
confidence.
the helicopter to land. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah.
place for
Like,
the
mom and
client's
dad can't be
helicopter to
here.
land.
Yeah. So it
Mm-mm.
forces them
But
to
I
kind
love
of,
that.
once they get out of here, have a different little base of confidence.
Yeah, I just wrapped up a business camp at Chat Tech today, where we
Okay.
sat the students down, and a lot of them had like their own businesses and their own business ideas and things that they were good at and hobbies. And we were like, okay, let's start to write out your business plan. Let's write out the communication plan for it. Let's start to work on your visuals and your marketing tactics and stuff.
Yeah.
And these kids were brilliant. Like they were nothing short of brilliant the entire time because it was almost like when we were preparing, we were like, okay, but they're high school kids, so I don't know how to approach them, or if this is too heavy for them, or if this is too much for them, or any of those things. And they blew right past it with such
Yeah.
confidence. So I love that we're doing the work to bring that next generation into
Yeah.
the workplace because they need to know
Yeah.
that they're supported. Like they have safe workspaces and they have nonprofits available to support them,
Yes.
but also that they have people that are helping to expand
Appreciate
those
that.
visions and those thoughts for the next generation's entrepreneurs. So I love that. Okay, so um let me ask you this: what keeps you motivated? You got a lot on your plate. Like we laugh constantly because between the two of us, we can come up with 14 new businesses by the end of one hair
Exactly.
appointment.
And you're
We
like,
really could.
almost. We
And we
stop.
always have to stop and say, so when we gonna do this? How we gonna
Do we have any more
who gonna get
hands?
the extra hour? You gonna get an extra hour or me? So what keeps you motivated?
It all doesn't happen at the same time. The different entrepreneurship endeavors that I'm in. But I will say motivation wanes. I think as the older you get, So now I'm
Okay,
looking at
okay.
latter phase, right? I ain't old, but I ain't no young buck, right? So I'm looking like 5 years from 50, right? I'm not trying to be up in here every day, right? So it just really, I think, depends on the phase. Like if you a go getter, you grind. Usually 20s, 30s, around 40s, you like, okay, what I got, I'm good. Now I'm gonna have to make sure I kind of enjoy what I have, or think about the latter part where it's less of a grind. And so I think the
Right.
motivation is for me. It just depends on where I am in life, right? So I'm at the point now where it's like, I'm in a service position. If you're a healthcare provider, you provide a service. But I am seeing a change in the people we're servicing, just across the globe. People are different, right?
Really?
As far as
Mm-hmm.
what they value, as far as, it's just a change. I'm just noticing a change. I'm in practice at 18 years, And so I've always been about seeing what's ahead. Like, I know my patience level. Like, everybody is becoming a little bit more self-aware, which sometimes could be borderline narcissistic, where it's just like everybody thinks it's about them. Everybody's, I'm gonna do me. But if you're in the service position, I'm servicing multiple people, then it's not only about you, right? It's about the 20,000 patients that I have. And so I have to accommodate each one of them. And so when you feel like that you are more important than the other 19,000 that I have, and that's when I know it's time for me to start scaling back, right? Because I don't have the bandwidth, because it's not about you only if you have a healthcare provider, right? Because if it's one provider, they're assisting you, but baby, you're not the only patient, right? And if you're a good health provider, you got people driving from all over land. I got people from different states. And so the landscape is changing about what people want and how they want it, when they want it. And my patience level is not where everybody's changing at. So that's how I know I'm getting it. So to answer your motivation, it depends on what's going on. What the decade's talking about, right? And this decade right now is like, okay, all right. I got about 5 years, right? I got about 5 years of contact, hand-to-hand contact with patients. And then I'm going to look at some other things, hand-to-hand. I'm going to look at things that, give you sleep coins, right? While you're sleeping, it's doing things for you.
Okay, that's what we're going towards. Because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you want to throw hands with your clients.
Not sometimes. The older you get, a lot of times.
Okay, so it's not just sometimes. I felt like it
It's
was
not
me
just
for a
you.
moment.
It's,
Okay.
certain each decade. 20s, you're like, oh my God, I can make it happen. 30s, you're like, oh my God. 40s is like, hold up.
Listen, the 30s is like, you know what, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it. And then we're going to have step 1 and then step 2, and it's going to be great, and it's going to work out. And then by like 35, 36, it's like, listen, I told you what was going to happen. So this ain't how I work. You can go and listen. If you got some new recommendations, I remember telling the client, I said, babe, if you think this recommendation is going to work, I encourage you to try it. You let me know how it goes. I look forward to hearing your reply. But you didn't hear me participate in any of it.
No, I'm at the point of, say, if you like it, I love it. Whatever floats your boat, okay. That's why I'm at.
And let me tell you,
as
a Black woman, but I do not want to hear my service provider tell me, because we all know what you mean when you say, if you like it, then I love it. That means no one likes it. No one loves it. We think this is a bad
terrible idea.
Run for help. Run for help. She doesn't even like you anymore. She doesn't like you enough to correct you anymore. She just wants you to pay her so you can get the F up out her face. We are at step. We are at that step.
Like, oh, okay, this is where we at. I got some people, you like it, I love it. Y'all don't took me there, okay? It's time to retire.
Do you? You got it. I just throw my hands up sometimes. You be like, I don't know what you want me to do. This is so okay. So what keeps you disciplined then? If it's not something that excites you, what's the disciplining factor? What's that phrase that pays for you then? What's that? For me, is you have too many cats to be homeless. So that's gonna give me I'm gonna put some clothes on for that, because I can't be homeless and I got 2 cats yelling at me. No, that's not gonna work.
And they're like, you can come in the shelter, but the cats, they can't come in.
Well, they take the cats, but they don't take you.
Exactly. We don't take humans here. We only take cats. Sorry.
Right?
And so it's kind of like me. Right? It's not cats. It's like children. It's like I got these kids. So it's like I got to get up, make sure I'm providing, make sure I'm a good role model, and rearing some decent human beings that are productive members of society. So that's what really keeps me going now. And then I think a lot of the motivation, I think for some people it's innate. Some people they have to get it from other places. And I would say I'm an innate motivator. I don't do a lot of those self-help books. Whatever works for people, but I never did that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's kind of innate. Like, if I'm knowing this is what I need to do and this is what I have to do, then I'm going to do it, right? I never really have to, find that outside source. So I think for some people, motivation and discipline is just innate. And then some other people, they have to find the sources to encourage them. But honestly, a lot of it is just innate. And then, I don't do a lot of idle things. Like, some people enjoy television. I'm not a big television watcher. And so I'm always kind of using time for something constructive for what I want to do, So it works for me.
So let me ask you this. What do you do for fun?
Well, my fun is different from everybody else's fun. My fun is obviously I'm chilling at home in my robe, watching TV or watching TV. If I do that, there's a show that I might want to watch or a movie. I have a pool table at my house, but I don't have a committed to a show. I'm not I gotta watch this show. And if I do it, it's cause it's too addictive. That type of stuff is to me, it's if I'm I gotta shut this down so I can go see my show. That's a problem. That means 2 hours I should have been doing something constructive, right? I may pick a show once a year that I'll watch. I could get like that. That's why I used to watch Grey's Anatomy and what's that stuff back in the day, all the stuff Dr. Seuss watch. I would stop, I gotta go. And I'm I'm addicted to this show. So I can't do this. But I'll pick a show once a year or a quarter I'll watch. I'll watch The Bridgertons. I got to season 3, season 2, and right now I have no interest in watching season 3. And I keep seeing all the stuff on Facebook. Should I watch it? I have to get the motivation to watch TV. I don't have to have motivation for other stuff. I gotta get motivated to watch TV. Well, for fun, I'm spending time with my family, going on trips with my family. Going out with my husband, we do a lot of date nights. We go hang out a lot. That's kind of stuff I do for fun. I'm in a sorority, so I go do things related to my sorority, stuff like that.
Okay. Listen, like you said, everybody's fun is different. Let me tell you what, I will absolutely shut all of this down so that I can watch me a TV show. Let me be very clear. I will shut all of this down. I'm closing the
Power
door. I'm
down.
turning the lights on. Baby girl, go ahead and flat iron the left side. That's all you got to do left is just the left side.
Or you could just sit
And
here
then you
until I
good
get
to
back.
go.
1 or 2.
Or give me an hour. Okay? Give me an hour. Give me an hour 15.
Yeah.
I need a minute to breathe.
Yeah,
And because I love the escapism of certain shows. And it's not just anything. It really has to be it has to be something that I couldn't accidentally see on the news. So once Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder started being like the CNN reports and stuff for the election, and it was like no difference, and I was like, rant. This is real life now.
Yeah. I know.
But Game of
I think
Thrones,
that's why I like the Bridgerton because it's not real life.
Yes, I want to go. I want to participate in the fantasy of it as well. But I get your point when you say, like, you got to watch out for the addictions because...
Yeah, because it will take you to a whole other level. Because I used to be like that. And I'm like, dang, I wasted 2 hours. So then I'll be like, I'm going to watch the whole series. So the series things now, I like back in the day when you had no choice. You had to wait a week. You know, you had to wait, right?
And
now
you had
it's
to
like,
watch commercials in between.
Yeah, now it's like you just
now
it's 22 hours later.
22. If you got 4 seasons, oh baby, you out for a day at least. And I can't do the big binges anymore because I found myself, and y'all tune in if I'm not the only one, I would love for some support here. But I start to morph into the characters, and I'm pretty sure I told you about this. I had kind of an incident where I almost hit some hobos because I was watching The Walking Dead and I thought they were zombies because they were kind of like sludging through the street. It was late. It was kind of like a foggy October night. Perfect setting. I felt like I was in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And like I had a second where I said them walkers weren't gonna take me down. And the following second I was like, baby, they just homeless. They not zombies. Straight up.
It's a good show, good movie. It does take you to another place. And so it take a minute for you to be like, whoa, okay. Get back to reality.
Don't let them vampire shows come on, girl. I'll be all pale, be trying to eat my food all rare and stuff. Listen, I've been strung out, so I get the big binge. I can't do the big binge anymore either. So you've graduated into a lot of beautiful roles. What would you say is your most fun role to participate in? Outside of family. This is just in the career role.
So what do you mean? Like career roles?
Mm-hmm.
Career based? Yeah, so my latest role, what I like, is in 2020. So in 2020, I decided I wanted to kind of mix up my game. Where, you know, I'm an examiner right now, so it's just 4 walls. So being in 4 walls every day, all day for 18 years, that's a lot. You know, like some days I'm like, is it raining, y'all? It feel right? Is the sun shining? So it's like, I feel like I'm in prison, right? So it's like, hey, all I see is 4 walls every day and a different personality. So I was like, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So I was watching webinars and I'm like, how do doctors get to do these webinars or speak? Like when I go to conferences, how do these doctors get to do this? And I'm like, this seems cool. You know, I would want to do something like this. And so I work towards that. And so my coolest role that I like now is that I actually go out and I speak at conferences. And I work for 2 pharmaceutical companies and a big contact lens company. So I get to go speak and train other doctors. And so, for instance, I may be in Puerto Rico on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back the following week, I'm in Dallas. I'm in small towns educating doctors on different pharmaceutical options to treat different diseases. And so right now it's like, that's what I like, because then I get to switch up the monotony. So it's like, you know, people contacting me and say, hey, you know, are you available to speak in July? I'm going to Disney in December to speak. I'm like, yeah, I'll go to Disney. And so just that's what I like now, is it really switches up the day because I get to leave and go to a different state and meet different doctors. And then I can speak about what I've been doing for the last 18 years, whether it's practice building. So now it was a lot of dry eye, and now I'm getting into practice management. So a lot of the different processes that I have in my office that made me efficient and help produce revenue, I'm teaching doctors to do those type of things now. So I would say that's the coolest role now, because I get to go like everywhere: New York, Vegas, Puerto Rico, Dallas, and then I get to go to small towns, and I'm getting paid to do that. So I'm like, that's actually cool.
I love that. That is such, because my thing is this: y'all don't know how impactful she is. I know, but y'all don't actually know how unbelievably impactful she is. And this, I'm talking about just as a person that I've gotten to experience her, or as like a business owner, entrepreneur. But imagine when she get inside her field and she's speaking her language and talking about how she's managed her business. Y'all, you just don't even know. You don't even know. Oh, go on, Pastor. Set the church on fire, girl. You got the congregation. Okay. So, what is, if you had to narrow it down to one personality trait, one characteristic, what is that one thing that another entrepreneur would need in order to be successful? What is that one thing that they gotta have?
That's a good question. I don't want to say the stereotypical ones, but the first one that comes to my mind is unbothered, right? And so, and I look at that in my son, he's picked up by that. I'm like, if unbothered was a teenager, the definitely you're gonna be there. Because if unbothered means you gonna do what you gotta do. You're gonna not waver. You're unbothered by what else is going on around you, what everybody else is thinking, because you know this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I put on paper, and this is what I need to achieve. Unbothered. And so I always been an unbothered individual where it's like, oh, I don't like it. Okay, well then don't look at it. That's how I approach it. Unbothered. So I take that as same as an adult as I do my business. Well, you shouldn't unbothered because I didn't ask you. I know what I'm doing and I know who to go ask, who's of expertise in that area to get advice. And so I think, that's one of the ones that's not stereotypically said a lot. You always say determination, motivate. I mean, no, for me, it's unbothered. I am completely unbothered by what you think, what you don't think, because I know what I'm trying to do and I know who got me covered. So unbothered is it.
I love that. I think my word that keeps circling back for me is adaptable. We got to be able to adjust. If we gonna be in these same United States and y'all gonna start opening up more businesses, you need to find an adaptable bone in your body. You understand me? Because the tide is going to take you. And so I remember one of my clients told me that she would always say, be like water. There's going to be times where you have to be very in flow, very with the current, very just with the movement. It's times you're going to need to be like ice and unbothered and cold and solid. Okay, there's going to be some gaseous opportunities where you're fully dispersed and into the universe. There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to experience different spaces and states and environments. But you have to be flexible enough to adjust to each one of those.
Yeah.
Because listen, the way the pandemic was slinging us around like rag dolls, or let's talk about the elections before then, or what was you gonna bring up? Because we could probably bounce back 20 different.
Prepared. A lot of people with the pandemic, it could have been a positive. It was a negative, but if you were a business owner who were prepared, had your ducks in order, it could have been a positive as far as revenue and cash flow. And so I would say by me being a stickler, legitimately running my business, making sure, even if it may not have been the most financially sound thing to do, like I have a sign, I had good bookkeeping, records, file my taxes, even though they always been saying, taking my money. But when it came down to me, I had what I needed. We all,
this ain't about that. That's a different podcast. That's a different podcast.
But I was able to, benefit a lot from having my stuff in order, where I got some grants. There's a lot of things that I benefited from during COVID, when a time where it was a lot of uncertainty for businesses. A lot of businesses closed down. But I was thankful that I did have everything in the line business-wise, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, making sure my business is sound, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, when it's opportunities, I can take advantage of those.
Yes. I think for myself, it was, I'm trying to find a language for it, because I had a very specific blessing that I received before the pandemic happened. And had I not listened to myself when I listened to myself, then it wouldn't have happened. So it's like you really, 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 really have to trust your intuition. I was blessed to have opened up the location, my pandemic location, 6 months before the pandemic started. Paperwork was done. Space was perfectly set up so people never overlapped. Not even myself and the other stylists, not even other patrons or other guests in my salon. the space was set up. I mean, and every time I think back, I'm like, man, that was nobody but God, because the paperwork
Yeah.
was situated a specific way where I was an essential worker. The space was set up so that, like I said, everybody was nice and 6 feet apart no matter what. That was just the design. That wasn't for COVID. I just don't like being around
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm just not that kind of
Yeah.
hairstylist. All right, going on over there now. When it's time for your hair, you can come back over here. If you want to sit in your car, you can. Listen, but so that was just me honoring myself, but also listening to myself when it was time. Sometimes you're gonna have money that don't have a destination, and it's like, all right, I need to invest this thing. I need to
Yes.
replant this. This needs to be another seed. Or you have an opportunity that's like, this seems like it's too good to be true, but maybe I should try it anyway. You know what I mean? This, because you never know what's on the other side of that blessing. So I definitely gotta listen to yourself, and like Dr. Janelle said, have your ducks together. And listen, don't have so many ducks together that when the PPP people come asking back, you got a duck, you got a platypus. That might be a chicken. Is that a stuffed animal? It's a stuff. It's two stuff. I think we counted 3 stuffed animals. Make sure these are
And
actual ducks, okay?
yeah.
Is that a dog
We
with a
have
duck nose?
random stuff in order. This can pass. No.
Listen, is that a carton of eggs, baby? These supposed to, where are the ducks?
Yeah. They will come back and snatch their money back. They snatching some folks' money. Like,
Well, let me tell you, the IRS is gimme. So if they ever say, we gonna give you a little something, trust and believe, they're gonna say,
You better make
gimme. You don't remember that money I gave you? Listen, if Big Perm was a government, okay? So yes. Adaptability, being unbothered. What else would you tell to Generation Z or Generation Alpha while they're trying to wrap up school and think about college and think about their careers? What would you tell them now?
Yeah, I mean, I think those things we talk about adaptability and those things are important, but just the thing is, like, like we were talking about earlier, that they're bringing their parents to interviews because it's scary. I mean, it's a lot of things that are scary. Being an adult is scary, but you have to. I tell my kids, you got to try to get yourself out of your comfort zone, because that's the only way that you can get comfortable, right? I always look at it like, it may not be the best experience. You were sweating, you're passed out, but guess what? You didn't die, right? So I joke with my kids all the time. They're like, but did you die? Because if you're not dead, then that means you can attempt another day. And so just don't be afraid to do things that are scary, right? Adulting is scary. Adulting is not necessarily fun. So a lot of my patients that I've known since they were like 8, 9, 10 years old, they're 22, 23. When I joke with them, hey, what you doing this summer? They're like, oh, I'm working, doing this. I'm like, so you're basically adulting. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, adulting sucks, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, so you don't realize that till you're a child. So adulting is like, it's real, and this is how it's gonna be. And so the sooner you can just kind of just push yourself out there a little bit, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Those are the way you kind of stretch, you learn, right? Like there's a lot of things I'm doing that, speaking for one thing is not necessarily something that feels comfortable. I'm always super nervous. But once I get through, I'm like, oh, that was great. Let me try it again. So you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's the only way you grow and learn. And even if it was a terrible experience, what can you take from that? And if you just got a mentality, you know what, I'm still here to see another day. Let me attempt, maybe I'll attempt in a different avenue, a different venue, a different way, but you can reattempt. And if you never try, you never do something that is scary, then it's just kind of hard for you to stretch yourself. You always kind of stay in this little bubble, right? And so it's okay. Bring mama, will tell her stay in the car, right? Mama, stay in the car. Don't speak down, but don't bring her in the stuff, right? Bring her, let her stay in the car, right? And so that's the only way you gotta learn to stretch yourself. And that's what I'm doing with my interns. I'm like, okay, you scared to talk to people? Okay, well, let me give you a hug. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to say. Now go in there and regurgitate what I just said. And then you come out, okay, how was that? Okay, I did it. And so now it's like, okay, now go in here and say this. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to say. And so I'm coaching you, but I'm making you want. So you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the only way that's one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways that you grow. and you can learn from different experiences to see, hey, it wasn't that bad, or that was terrible, right? So let me do something different next time, or let me go a different way of doing that. That was terrible. I'm not dead, but now I can make some adjustments.
I love that. I love that. And I love the idea of doing it scared, because I, especially like when I did platform speaking and things like that, you can feel your body transition from being scared into that wash over, the almost like that paralyzing fear, and then your body's like, no, you're actually doing this is pretty cool. And you ease out of it and you ease into your space. And it's so funny because we tell ourselves we have these grand thoughts and stories and streams of consciousness, and they're all big fat lies. They're all big fat, machinations that are just meant to keep us, like you said, in that box, to keep us small. But it don't have to be from Nebraska straight to the Grand Canyon. You don't have to jump off the cliff. But you do have to make incremental changes and do incremental experiences that help build upon your own confidence and your trust in yourself. Because that's really what it is. That's fear of saying, I don't trust us enough to handle this well. We could die. But you have to kind of prove to your mind, like, hey, yeah, we got this. We don't have to be perfect at it, but like you said, we ain't dead. We made it, and that helps to calm that voice. Yes, mind over matter.
Like you said, you your body transition. But if you never try, you don't get to go from that paralyzing fear, voice shaking, sweating, to the transition, right? But you got to get past that. I was a doctor that was at a lecture with him, and it was that same thing you said. He was lecturing, he was like his first time. I mean, he was super nervous. He was shaking. I mean, he was sweating. Sometimes men just got like, God, his sweat was just coming down. It ain't just men. But you can see the moment too where it felt like his body was like, okay, we can calm down a little bit. Nobody throwing anything at us. People seem engaged, and all of a sudden he just started rocking it, right? And so I was joking with him. He was like, he was like, man, I thought I was gonna pass out, but he was like, but I was like, yeah, I can tell when all of a sudden he just got comfortable. And he was just like, it got easy. So you got to get past that point. But if you stop at the scary point, you never really feel that transformation. Then that's the point that tells you, like, you know what? It's okay. I can pass this, and then now I know what to do or what to expect a little bit more.
And you also have to like switch mental streams too, because when you're nervous, your mind is on basically its own mental highway. We're driving down the highway of fear, but it's like some point you got to make a left or a right turn and do something different, and then you'll experience what's on that mental stream, But I love that, like I love public speaking, and what made me fall in love with it was learning how to control myself in order to be able to speak well, and that's when my God did something with me on that. He said she can give her a little bit extra with that one. I love that moment when I feel myself getting nervous, and instead of trying to just push through it, I stop and I just take in the moment. And that makes everybody else kind of stop and take you in while you're taking it in. And it's such an energetic exchange. It's a real energy exchange. I'm letting you know I'm looking at you and I trust you with what I'm about to say, and you're tuning into me and my frequency and trusting me that I'm gonna deliver well. And that kind of just momentary silent exchange, that makes the difference for me. So I may start, hey y'all, and then I may just take a minute and I'll just kind of look and say, give me a moment to drink you all in. And I'm not being a vampire in that moment, but I am very much feeling like, let me experience your energy before I just start rambling through this material. Let's connect on a human level first before we accelerate our minds. And I love that. That's my favorite part. Yeah, that's my favorite part. Okay, so what do you have planned next for your businesses? What's the next big thing on the horizon for you?
Well, I have a second location that I just launched a couple months ago, so I'm really focusing on that.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I have a dedicated suite to dry eye disease and aqueous surface disease. I specialize in dry eye and aqueous surface disease, and so there's a need, right? So there's upwards of 20 plus million patients that have dry eye disease. Less than 50% are diagnosed and being treated. And so since I've been open in the last week of April, I've had patients coming from Augusta, South Carolina, all over Atlanta area. And so I'm just really focusing on building that out and fulfilling that need of those patients that need services. And then, like I said, just figuring out what the next steps will be as far as clinical care. I always wanted to retire at 55, and I'm 10 years out, so I'm working at 10-year exit strategy is what they call it. And then probably do more on the industry level, more speaking and those type of engagements.
Okay, I love that. What would you want to leave our listeners with? What's the one thing that is like, when you think of Dr. Janelle, think of this. Bam, Dr. Janelle equals this. What's the formula?
Authentic. So,
ooh,
I'm a doctor, right? And it's a relationship. So everybody want to come, but I ain't everybody doctor and everybody ain't my patient. So when you come here, most of my patients are like family. That means you respect your health, you respect my health. It's just it's a relationship, it's an energy, right? And so some energies don't fit you. Most energies do, and most patients love it. They come in like everybody swear I'm their best friend because I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you, right?
Yeah.
And so I really engage, and and I'm like I say, I get on to you if you're not paying attention, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Did you do what you're supposed to do with your eyes last year? Did you go get
I only see these eyes once. Listen, you see these eyes every day.
Yeah. And so I'm authentic. Sometimes the tongue get tied up. And then, just solid, right? Solid. What you see is what you get, right? Like it or not, what you see is what you get. It's been pretty steady since. This is it. I might switch my hair up a little bit. You might have a pixie cut, but this is it. I'm in my growing out phase. Lexi trying to help me get through the growing out phase.
That's a different show, y'all.
But I'm looking at her hair like,
That's a different show, y'all. That's a different show. Because I be done filmed the next interview with her, and she like, girl, I done cut it all off, and I done did this, and then I filmed 2 more interviews with her, and she's like, well, I cut it off in the last episode, but by this episode, I went ahead and grew it back, and we done did this. But listen,
it's a back and forth relationship.
And you know what? That is 100% a testament to me. If we are, not to hog the spotlight, but that is a testament of having a hairstylist that you can say, I want to grow it out, and you can grow it out. Or I want to cut it off, and I can cut it off. Or I want to color it, and I can color it. Or my mama want her hair done, and I can color your mama hair. Or your sister or your daughter.
I want some micro-links. I need some clip-ins. Whatever. Because people are like, well, who do you go? I'm like, I go to the same person. Now, I have to prepare, when you start talking about your exit strategy, I have to figure out, who's going to be, but by that time, I'll be maybe just wearing wigs and just call it a day, right?
That's a different podcast. That's a different, I plead the 5th. I would like to plead the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
Everybody going to have some time where they decide they're going to do some different stuff,
Yeah.
10 years from now, 15 years from now. I gotta prepare. I might be on wigs.
Did you hear the time frame that she threw out there? 10 to 15 years. Y'all, I am healing from broken bones today. Okay, I'm trying to retire too. I'm listen, all these fancy hairstyles, these micro links, and these kitchen sinks and such, baby. That's for the young girls. Okay, I'm a seasoned chicken. You understand me? You know how to season, it got to sit for a few days and then it's ready to grill. That's me. I'm not fresh out the pack. Yeah. I'm not. I'm one of them people tell me, okay, so what did you get? You ain't said that's what you getting on the phone. You ain't getting that.
That's the picture you showed me.
This is not I want to bring the pictures back so bad. The picture book.
I know.
Baby, you pointed at number 7. You pointed at number 7. Okay, you did not point at number 14. Exactly. You only got enough hair for number 7 anyway.
That's the truth. You're like,
okay. What keeps me coming back to my chair every single day are the phenomenal relationships I've built with my community. I cannot and I will not ask for a stronger, more tailored, more built just for me group of people, a network in the world. I have literally, whatever idea I have, if it's on a Friday, I'm gonna have the network for the whole thing set up by Saturday morning. You know what I mean? All I have to do is talk to 4 or 5 clients, and they're like, "Okay, girl, then this is what you're doing, and I'm gonna do this, and then bring it over here, and then you can do this, and then I'll tell you how to do this." So that's what brings me back to this chair. It really is, because baby, the way my knees and my hips and one of my lower
Yeah.
back discs, one of them spinal discs, acting up.
One of
They be
them
like,
doing
yeah, no, we don't love this as much, but
that's me.
but wait, let me ask you this: who on the books today? Is Janelle gonna be there? Okay. We can go.
Okay, take a
Take
leave.
a pain
We
pill.
okay.
Take a pain pill first, and then you good. You should be good.
You
So no,
got
it's
me. You got me
definitely.
crying, makeup, watering, everything.
Man, and that's what keeps me coming back because I have had some of the most honest conversations in the world at my shampoo bowl, at my chair.
Yeah.
Because, see, what customers and clients don't see is there is a palpable amount of tongue biting and word withholding that happens in
Mm,
customer relations.
yeah.
Some stuff be so stupid that you almost need a camera to look at so you can be like, okay,
Mhm.
do this look stupid to y'all? Okay, it does look okay, I'm not the only one this looks stupid to.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Thanks. Okay. Back to, back looking over here. But so when people get to the salon, and trust me, I'm the keeper of secrets. So
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody business. Now I may
Everybody
not
knows.
know all of everybody business, but I know a little something about a little somebody, okay? Cause this is the first time y'all get to lay your hair down. Like literally
Yeah.
and professionally and figuratively. You get to wash out that nasty conversation you have with that cheap client, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean, or how your schedule got jam packed because somebody showed up uber late with extra kids, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
My space is the space y'all get to wash that out in. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So I respect it. I honor it. I really do. I honor it. I know what I'm getting myself into. And we do our best to find the joy in it. Cause y'all gonna go postal. The stuff y'all be telling me about, I'll be like, yeah, you should probably go. Yeah,
Yes,
you
you're
need to
right.
go ahead and
Yes,
fight
yes.
them. You need to go ahead and fight them. If you also need me to
Go
help
ahead,
you fight
fire.
them, we can come up with an alibi. I ain't gonna get fired. Okay. So you just let me
Stop
know.
me. I ain't either.
So
I ain't gonna
it's
get
an
fired
honor.
either.
Trust me, it's an honor because it ain't no joke. It is not a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, last things up because we cannot keep you here all night. How can we find you? How can we connect with your businesses? Where can we reach you on social media? Give us the beats.
So yeah, so my primary location is Brain Eyes Vision Center. So you can Google or go to www.braineyesvisioncenter.com. And then my second location, if you are a patient that's suffering with dry eye disease or think you may be, you want to visit Visionary Dry Eye Institute. And that website is the Dry Eye Institute of Georgia, or GA.com. And I'm on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, as Dr. Janelle OD. So Dr. Janelle OD is where you can find me on all those social media handles.
Thank you so much for spending a little time telling us about your story, making us laugh. But from my lips to your ears, keep up the good work. Keep it going.
Thank you.
You're setting such a tremendous pace for Black women in medicine, Black women in entrepreneurship, Black women in business. Continue being yourself. Continue being the authentic, bothered self that you are, honey. Because we are absolutely looking up to you. Trust and believe. We are absolutely looking up to you. So thank you again, Dr. Janelle.
And
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much for
inviting me.
coming.
It was fun. It was
Absolutely.
fun. So I appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. And I look forward to having you back on the show again.
Okay. Sounds
Yes,
good.
yes, yes, yes. So you can check out every episode of Energy is Currency on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon Music. And if you want to learn more about my business as a marketing consultant, you can visit me at blushbizonline.com. And listen, I'm not taking no new clients, but if you insist, visit hqhairclinic.com for hair services. Until next time, I love you, and I hope you love you too. Thank you. That was good.